So you hold multiple degrees, including a PhD, and you are recognized for your deep understanding of Nigeria's complexities and your call for ethical leadership. Nigeria is currently facing security problems to the extent that abductions and killings have become almost an everyday concern. Why there's so much killings in the country right now? What is driving these senseless killings?
Well, I don't know about multiple degrees. Degrees are just pieces of papers that they hand over to you. All of us have various kinds of degrees. But the most important thing, every priest is and should be concerned about what is right and what is wrong. And this is why inevitably we must find ourselves dragged into politics or even the marketplace, because in calling attention to what is right, what is just, and what is fair, this is tied to the responsibilities that we undertake and the responsibility that we carry. Perhaps you might also argue that it will be strange in the face of the insecurity that you speak about, the abductions, the killings, for us, if I were to follow the principles that you enunciated, it would be that I should be in my sacristy, either praying or having nothing to say. Well, we are accused of saying nothing. We are accused when we say something. So when you speak, those who are happy with you tell you, oh, well done, you are speaking truth to power. When you speak, those who are not happy with you tell you that you are getting yourself involved in politics. But if you are a priest in a dysfunctional environment such as Nigeria is, you are constantly being called upon to help resolve the problems of people. I sit here on my table. There's hardly any day I'm not getting telephone calls from frustrated young people who can't find jobs. There's no day I'm not being called upon to help somebody get an appointment or help somebody get justice, either through the courts or through talking to another person. So these are the things that define us. To be a priest in a broken country like Nigeria is not the same as being a priest in America or being a priest in Europe, where systems have already been set. Systems that we have to deal with here as priests. And those systems relate to if a man beat his wife in the United Kingdom, he will end up in prison. But in Nigeria, you can beat your wife and still go to church and come back, beat your wife and still go to work and come back. So the demands on every priest are enormous. But again, as I said, in the final analysis, all of us must and should remain signs of contradictions. And we don't follow the path mapped out by those who simply sit on their armchairs and think about what a priest ought to be. So, as I said, we think if you look at what is driving the senseless killings, we have only come to a point in which we can now see the killings. But we should have, if we developed a sharper radar, we should have seen most of all this coming up much longer than now. The distortions in the Nigerian landscape, the inability of the state to manage effectively and efficiently the resources that our country possesses in huge quantum, in huge numbers. So this structural design of a system that produces corruption but also produces so much inefficiency left unattended to is what has brought us to where we are now, to the point that even the killers have developed a sense of righteousness by saying, well, they are doing this because the country has ignored them. So I think at the heart of the killings and the abductions, tragic as they are, will be for us to have the courage to accept that at another level, those who govern Nigeria have also, to a great extent, been guilty of these charges of abducting this particular time the resources of state. Because I've always argued that actually it is the Nigerian state that should be in the dock in terms of what the things it has left undone. So these killings and these abductions are also evidence of the collapse of the moral fabric of our society. Otherwise, these are not things you hear about even in our neighboring countries, not to talk of other parts of the world. So the question all of us should ask ourselves, although it's convenient for us to point at government, is how did we get to this point? And what really did we contribute by doing or not doing X, Y, or Z? But this is where we find ourselves as Nigerians. There will be different efforts made to find solutions, but I don't think the solution is for us to focus only on government, because the killers and the murderers are among us.
All right. With all these senseless killings, Is life still sacred in Nigeria?
Well, life is sacred, but like a tree that is planted, unless it is well nurtured. There are certain things in our culture, and you must ask yourselves. We must ask ourselves why. For example, is it possible for 40 people, for 50 people, for 100 people to die, or to be killed, or to be murdered, or to be burnt to death in churches or in mosques or wherever? And Nigeria, life continues basically in the same way. It cannot be right that all we do is to blame government. It cannot be right that traffic doesn't stop, that things of such humongous, such humongous dimensions occur, and we just go on as if. So the truth of the matter is that we may not be innocent, and that there's something about our own culture that may have gotten, it has more or less, we have been caught up by certain distortions in our culture and cultural practices. Up till today, there are people in parts of our societies that are supposed to be children of lesser gods, whether we call them Musu, whether we call them we're killing twins. We are unable to deal with autistic children. We are unable to handle the vulnerable. We have unable to handle the issue of the rights of people with disabilities and so on. So built into our cultures, or refined culture, so to say, is our inability to resolve the fact that all of us are in the image and likeness of God, and that no matter what our conditions may be, social status may be, God doesn't do photocopies. But the social environment around which we live has thrown up all kinds of contradictions. So we're finding ourselves behaving as if some people are more important than others. And we use gender, we use social systems, we use culture to exclude one another. So if you ask, is life, of course life is sacred because life is given by God. But not everybody believes that life is given by God, because many of us have assumed that we have a right to take life and nothing will happen. So the sacredness of life is directly related to our readiness and willingness to treat each and every one as if they are ourselves or our brothers and our sisters.
Thank you for listening. Join us tomorrow again at 8 p.m. to give answers to the next disturbing questions in Nigeria.